Welcome back to Hard Count Sports. This is episode 5, another podcast. I hope you're all well. Hope you've enjoyed listening to the past 4 episodes we've done. I'm joined with Zach. Zach is my co-host and another avid fan of the NFL. Zach, how's your day been?
Yeah, it's been really good, Ross. I'm very glad to be back for episode 5, and it's hard to believe that we've already done 4 and this is our 5th episode already. It's baffles me, really.
It is. Yep. We're going to cover a lot of topics today. We've got the Madden cover, we've got the Bears moving, possibly from Soldier Field. Le'Veon Bell's in a bit of a spat with Andy Reid, and Cole Beasley doesn't want to take the vaccination. But before we get into that, I just want to give a wee shout out to Cleat Kings. We had Rob on last week, who's the owner and founder of that great website that sells accessories, gloves, pads, different equipment needed to play American football for a bit of a cheaper price than the kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. Rob's doing great work over there. So if you're interested in maybe buying some equipment, if you're looking into playing the game and want to get involved, the link's down below for that. But let's start into the first news story of the day. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are starring on the new cover of Madden 2022.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise for me. I did think Derrick Henry had done enough to earn that spot, and I know that the Madden cover is such a prestigious honor for NFL players, and really, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady's CV speaks for themselves. They're more than deserving of the Madden cover. However, this isn't the first time that they've appeared on front of the EA Sports game. Brady was on the cover of Madden 18, and Mahomes was more recently on the cover of Madden 20. And so, it was a little bit of a surprise that they were appearing so soon. However, the MVP edition, as it's called, there's no better players suit that phrase than Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion.
Definitely, and obviously, what was the last game to be played? You look back, Super Bowl 55, both of these QBs featured in that game. Patrick Mahomes obviously was on the losing end of that, and Tom Brady was able to lift his 7th Super Bowl of his career, which is completely wild in itself. But both these guys are the MVPs and have proved their worth over the past few years. And Brady, obviously, since coming into the league in 2000, has been absolutely monumental to the game of NFL and to the game of football. And Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, is this upcoming young guy who's possibly looking to take the shoes of the next GOAT. And I think both of them, as you say, are deserving of it. And yeah, you look back and see it was a decade ago that the last time you saw 2 guys appear on the cover of this game that's wildly popular, on itself. And that was Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald. Not Ryan Fitzpatrick will maybe get this time soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting mixed up there. But yeah, tell me this, Zach, will you be playing the game yourself?
Well, I have to say I'm a huge Madden fan. I really do think it's a good game. I know that there are a lot of critics about it who say, well, it's just the same game, just a different cover every year, but for me, actually, Madden plays a big part into me learning the rules of American football. And I think it's a similar story for a lot of people. And obviously FIFA is the big sport here, or the big gaming, the big video game, sport video game, in the UK. But Madden is there, and for a lot of people, their main way of learning a bit about how American football works, and I have friends who have a similar experience, is through playing Madden. And it's a really good game. However, I do try and avoid playing with my Broncos because I don't like seeing my brother slap me, when he's playing with his Packers, and usually ends up about 50-3 or something like that. And I just can't see my Broncos do that badly.
No, that's it. And I myself have enjoyed playing Madden throughout the years. I remember getting into it. It was the first one I got was Madden 13, I think. And ever since then, it's kind of been a daily or an annual purchase in my house. And yeah, although I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't seem to change much yearly. But maybe this year, 2022, we'll see a bit of a difference there. And Patrick Mahomes himself knows kind of how big it is getting onto the cover. He himself said that whenever you get onto the cover, it's a special moment, and to be on it twice with an all-time great like Brady, it's a very special moment. Now, keep in mind, both of these guys are recovering from recent surgeries, but they were able to meet in Tampa to do a wee bit of a photo shoot for that. And the photo that came out for that Madden 22 was great and gives you a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, whenever I first saw it, I was like, that looks like, you know, a hip hop album cover or something, you know, like a Drake album or something. It looked really, really, you know, really good.
Looks like it should have explicit at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I was expecting, you know, GOAT edition, or maybe Brady holding a goat and Patrick Mahomes holding a baby goat, because that's what the media during the Super Bowl, the media.
Well, that's their original video. Sure, showed two goats coming in and out of the sheds
in the promo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep, that was it. But yeah, let's move on to a franchise that maybe isn't so well. They have another young QB in the mix.
They do.
Justin Fields. We're going to look at the Chicago Bears and the fact that they possibly could be moving from Soldier Field. They've been there since 1971. Do you think they'll move, Zach?
Oh, it's a tough one. You know, I've been fortunate enough to actually go to Soldier Field, although I saw the other type of football. I saw Man City play Dortmund a couple of summers ago when I was on holiday, and you know, it's a very strange stadium in that there is the original pillars from the original Soldier Field that was built in the early 1920s, and then it was redeveloped in the early 2000s, 2003, and so there is a blend of history there. Obviously, the 89 or 85 Bears played there. Walter Payton, all these great players have gone through. So
amazing team
as well, and so I think that, and it is literally in the center of Chicago. Like you see,
it is.
You see the skyline, and you can see Soldier Field there. And I think for it to move, the proposed plan, the CEO and president of the Chicago Bears, Ted Phillips, released a statement last week saying that they've placed a bid for Arlington Racecourse, which is located 35 miles outside of the city in the suburbs. And for me, you know, I think it would be a bit of a shame. But however, whenever the Chicago Bulls played in the 90s, they played in the stadium, in Chicago Stadium, which was also outside in the suburbs, you know. So it's not the first time that a sports franchise would be located like this outside the city, you know.
Yeah. And Ted Phillips had a very, you know, he's wanting to move forward with this franchise. He's wanting to kind of maybe change things up. Someone who isn't taking too kind to the change is the Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot. She wasn't best pleased when she found out the fact that her Chicago Bears could possibly be moving, as you put it, 35 miles outside the center of Chicago. She said that the Bears need to spend focusing on beating the Patriots, the Packers. A team that they've struggled to overcome in the past. I think that's a bit of a big job there that Lori Lightfoot's asking them to kind of do, but you never know. And I hear it's a 326 acre chunk of land that they're looking at there. So, in my opinion, you've got to take that no matter what the mayor says. And you could look at it kind of.
I think, like, you know, you see what happened with SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and they've literally redeveloped the part Inglewood outside Los Angeles. That area of Los Angeles has been completely transformed with the building of this stadium. There's office space there. You know, you've got recreation areas as well. It's the same for Dallas as well. The Star area down in Dallas, there's office space as well, a shopping area, and you have gyms, etc. Different swimming pools and things, I think, are down there. You know, so whenever you have an NFL franchise here wanting to build a stadium, you literally could build everything around it, have hotels, so the fans literally can stay in one area, have their entertainment, have their American football, and you know, have their accommodation. So I think that's maybe what the Chicago Bears, you know, see within the future. Maybe this is within their master plan. You know,
that's it. But I do hear the Bears are locked into a bit of a lease there at Soldier Field until 2033. So you never know, it mightn't be an upcoming change, but it's definitely one for the future. Let's move across to Le'Veon Bell. Previously with the Kansas City Chiefs, now a free agent, had a bit of a spat with Andy Reid.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate one. Le'Veon Bell was the star of when it came to running backs in the NFL not too long ago. Drafted in 2013 to Pittsburgh and became part of that trio. And Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and then Le'Veon Bell.
Yep.
He was unbelievable in his prime. He then had a contract dispute, sat out in 2018, signed with the Jets, and it really did not work out well for him, with only 863 yards and 3 touchdowns to show for his time there. And then was cut by the Jets and signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, who,
imagine that, going from the Jets to the Chiefs, being put into a situation where you can possibly win a Super Bowl. That's great in itself.
Yeah, and also, playing with Patrick Mahomes. But the thing that annoys me the most about this whole spat is you're being coached by Andy Reid, who is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. And I'm sure that Le'Veon Bell did learn a lot from Andy Reid, and to say that, he'll never play for him again and he'd rather retire first, it just doesn't sit well with me. I do think that Le'Veon Bell has a lot of responsibility into why his career hasn't gone the same way as it used to. Sitting out in 2018, that definitely doesn't do any good for his NFL game.
No, definitely not. No. And he had a very small part to play this past season. Played 9 games, rushed for 254 yards with 2 touchdowns on a total of 63 carries. So very small part to play. Andy Reid maybe was a bit hesitant to put him in with, running backs like CEH, in the mix, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But Andy himself had this to say. He said, "I'm pulling for him in the future. I really enjoyed my time with him here." So Andy has a very kind of different take on it. He didn't want to kind of engage in that war of words. He had only positive things to say. And you look at it like this. Which one of these guys is on a team? Andy Reid is still the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He hasn't gone anywhere. Le'Veon Bell is yet to sign with a team. And in my opinion, that's due to the fact that when you sign Bell, you get a lot of baggage with him. He's only 29, granted. He still has a lot of potential. Maybe not potential is the word, but he still has a lot yet to give.
Yeah. But
in my opinion, it's too big a risk.
And you hit the nail on the head right there. He's a free agent, and you say, you get a lot of baggage with him. Do you honestly think there's other head coaches and GMs you're sitting out there and other NFL teams who are maybe considering going for Le'Veon Bell, and then he goes out and says this statement, and basically bashes Andy Reid? Do you think that's going to do his NFL career any good? His opportunities? He's just shooting himself in the foot, in my opinion.
He really is shooting himself in the foot. Yep.
I did think that Andy Reid was, he did the right thing. He took the high road and he said, the right things. But in my opinion, it just did not look good for Le'Veon Bell, and I don't know what he's doing. I really don't, and it's a shame because he was an unbelievable talent, and I would love to see that player again.
Yeah. Another player who's shooting himself in the foot is Cole Beasley, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. Cole Beasley came out with the statement, was it Saturday or Sunday? I think it was Saturday. He said this. He said he'd rather retire than follow the NFL COVID rules. He's against the vaccination. He said, "I may die of COVID, but I'd rather die actually living."
Yeah, and this sort of proves two things. It proves that NFL players are human; they're just like you and me, and it also proves that the NFL is a microcosm of society. You're obviously, you see people who are advocates for getting vaccinated, and you also see people who are maybe hesitant to take the vaccine. And I completely understand why someone would be hesitant to receive it, because the vaccine hasn't been around too long. Yes, it's scientifically proven to be safe, and its safety has been guaranteed by a lot of other places, or a lot of other head organizations within within health and within within medicine. But it's the same in the NFL. There's players who will get vaccinated and won't think twice about it, but there's others who will be questioning it, and I think that's completely is fair and just, and everybody sort of needs to respect their decision. However, the thing
I know you've got a long list of
I do
things that vaccinated players can get and have the opportunity to be allowed to do. But before you go for that, I'm going to shoot up these 2 images on the screen of the quotes or of the notes that Cole Beasley wrote about the NFL COVID rules. Because we can't read them all off. He goes into detail all right.
Sure.
And it's be here all night if we tried to go into that. But kind of the key things he said was, as I mentioned, he may die of COVID, but he'd rather die living. I'm not going to take meds for a leg that isn't broken. Eat better, drink water, and exercise is his advice to those who want to get healthy. Cole Beasley isn't a guy who's unhealthy. Obviously, he's playing in the NFL, so he must have some amount of health about him. And so his advice to you and me is the only way you're going to get better, the only way you kind of get fitter is by taking, lifestyle choices into account. So by eating better and drinking water and exercising things that he does. But Zach, I'm going to let you shoot on now. I know you're aching to get these rules out to me.
Yes, so I had a deep dive whenever I heard this story with Cole Beasley, and I had a look to see what the NFL and NFL Players Association had agreed upon as regulations and restrictions for players who are vaccinated, and more importantly, for players who aren't vaccinated. So for players who are vaccinated, they can, go into meeting rooms, don't have to socially distance, don't have to wear masks, and they're not required to take COVID-19 tests. However, the story is very different for players who decide not to take the vaccine. They will be tested daily whenever they enter and exit the facility. They have to wear masks. They have to self-quarantine following exposures, whereas other players don't. They'll remain under the same travel restrictions as the 2020 season. They have limits on getting into the weight room. They also must socially distance during meals, and they're not allowed to eat with other teammates, which is a big one.
It's a long list.
And it goes on even to the small things like, they can't use the steam rooms or saunas within the facilities as well.
Wow.
So I think, they do have the choice. Yes, and it's completely right that they should have the choice to take the vaccine or not. However, it does look like it'll be a difficult pathway for players who decide to pass up on the vaccine next year.
Yeah, it seems to be. And I do sympathize with Cole to a point. This is not only just an NFL issue. This is a major issue, a microcosm of the world. I'm stealing your words, to be fair. You said that to me before we started this podcast, so I am stealing your words and I apologize. But you were right. And this is, if people read into this, it could be seen as blackmail. There is a lot... the restrictions are eased for those who take the vaccination, and for a lot of people who don't want to take it, life is harder, and that's not what people want to hear. It's almost like the easy thing to do and the right thing to do is to take this vaccination, and people still don't know the long-term effects of this. And this is when you start kind of breaching into a real life issue and something that maybe we don't really want to kind of take too much of a deep dive into this podcast. We'd like to keep it a wee bit more kind of light. But yeah, you start to get into kind of serious stuff there.
We'll focus on football.
The other names. I want to mention some other names some other guys who have expressed skepticism in receiving the vaccination. And one of them stood out to me, and that is Montez Sweat. Now, I don't know if you remember the big news that came out of the NFL draft or the NFL combine about Montez Sweat, but he was actually diagnosed with a heart condition just before the draft, which actually saw his stock plummet quite a bit. Now, this is a guy I do understand, and I do really sympathize with him because he has this heart condition. So you can maybe see why he's a wee bit more kind of unsure about receiving it, because you don't know how it could affect him. Obviously, there was a few things in the UK about possible blood clotting and things like that. So you don't want to take that risk if you're him. Another name that popped up is Sam Darnold. So we'll see how that goes. But as you've mentioned to us there's a long, long list of things that guys will have to keep to if they don't want to take this vaccination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think skepticism is normal. Obviously, as you have alluded to, whenever a medical condition is in. Whether the NFL will make exceptions for that side of it, I don't know. But I think this is an issue that, I don't know, it'll probably fester. It'll probably need a lot of reviews as the season goes on. And, it'll be interesting to see how the NFL cope with it, because the NFL so far, you look at how they dealt with having a season in a pandemic. They did very well there. And not only that, having an NFL draft with people there as well, and their plans to having stadiums full.
Yep.
So it also affects the business side of it for fans as well, the vaccination as well. If they're hoping to have full stadiums, it's not just the players, but also us as the public, us as fans who want to, go to the turnstiles and see our teams on a Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It will. So there you go. There's the main points of today. The breaking news stories, the Madden cover.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Bears' possible move to Soldier Field.
Mm-hmm.
Got Le'Veon Bell getting himself into a bit of a sticky situation. And we finished off there with a wee bit more of a serious note with Cole Beasley. But later on in the show, we've got a special guest. Actually, probably in a few seconds for you guys, we've got a special guest coming on. Adonis Boone. He's a left tackle. He's not a tackle. He's the right guard. Completely messed that up. But he's on the line for Louisville, which is a college based in Kentucky. For those of you who maybe don't know exactly where that is, he's been on that team for a good long time. He's actually a junior on. I think he's a junior. Yeah, he's a junior on Louisville's team. He's 6'5", 317 pounds, and we're looking forward to having him on.
Definitely. I had a look at his high school tape, and from what I can tell, he was Mr. Pancake Block himself whenever he was playing in Daytona Beach in Florida. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited to chat to him.
Very, very excited. Yeah, he's gonna be great. So we'll see you after the break. Come back and join us. We'll see you then.
Welcome to section 2 of this week's episode, and we're very excited to introduce for an interview Louisville Cardinals offensive lineman from Daytona Beach in Florida, played at Mainland High School, Adonis Boone. Adonis, welcome to the podcast.
What's good?
Thank you very much for joining us.
Great to have you.
It's fantastic that you've been very generous with your time, and just wondering whereabouts in the world you are right now and what you're getting up to.
Right now I'm on campus. We getting it in. We working. It's the off season, so we're just putting as much work in as possible. We're getting ready for fall camp. You feel me? So just focusing on getting bigger, faster. We work out 2 hours a day. We run, lift. That's what I'm on right now. And summer classes. I graduate in the next spring.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Congratulations in advance for that.
Yes,
as Zach mentioned, you grew up in Daytona Beach. Give us a wee bit of insight into what that was like growing up in that part of the world.
I mean, Daytona is a small city. And it's like, that's where I met a lot of people that I love there. Like, that's my city. That's home. You feel me? Tank Dell, he had Houston. We grew up in the same city, same high school. Brian Jenkins, he had Alabama A&M. Like, we scattered apart. Like, our environment was rough. Don't get me wrong. But like, as far as everything football brought us together, that was my environment.
Very good. Yeah. And, we did a bit of research before the interview, and we found out that coming out of high school that you were highly recruited. You had offers from a few different schools, if I'm right, the University of Central Florida, Oregon, Missouri as well. So why was Louisville, what made Louisville your final choice?
I mean, I just felt like because I was committed to USF.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And at first I felt like being close to home was what I needed to do, but I took it as if I had to talk to my great grandma. It was like, if I feel like I need to grow and get away from, she felt like I needed to get away. You feel me? Like, get away from that environment, get away from being under my mama all the time, to get used to growth, try to grow.
Do some living. Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt like Louisville was perfect. Like, the environment, everybody's about cars. Like, I love Louisville.
Is there any similarities between Louisville and Daytona Beach?
Not really. I mean, it's a city. It's a city life. Like, Daytona Beach is a nice little city. People come there for spring break and go to the beach and stuff.
Yeah.
Louisville, it's like it's the same. It's kind of the same environment, but better. It's funny, like, in a sense. Like, I'm comfortable here. Like, I'm not homesick at all.
So you come into Louisville, then you commit to Louisville, and you go through your first camp. And as you were mentioning to us before this interview, you kind of went through the camp, and then they decided to take the decision to convert you to a tight end. Now, you came into the camp as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
What kind of went on there? Tell us a wee bit about how you became a tight end for your rookie season.
I mean, it was just basically, they seen I was big, but they also seen I could move, and they was like, they wanted to get me on the field. However, so I came in some games at fullback for packages. It was a package called Tank, and then sometimes I line up as an extra offensive lineman, extra tight end, and just run block. Like, it was a fun experience. I had to do all the agility drills the tight ends did, so it was fun.
New experience for you then?
That's it.
Yeah, good little experience.
I know.
Good something to put on my resume.
Yeah, definitely. And you never know, maybe that's NFL teams could be looking for someone in the future who can do a wee bit of both.
Hey, it's different now. That's like 20 pounds ago.
Yeah. So the O-line is definitely your favorite. That's your home place. That's where you feel most comfortable then.
Yeah, I love offensive line. Offensive line, that's my home.
Yeah. And whenever we think of O-linemen, there's the old stereotype that they love to run the football. The O-line, that's what they really like to do. Do you share that stereotype? Do you share that belief? And if so, why? Why would that be?
I definitely do. I mean, like, just with our offense, we run outside zone all the time. Inside zone, outside zone. That's us. So you grow to love the run game. When you dominate somebody, you blowing somebody off the line of scrimmage, like, that feels good. It gives me an adrenaline rush. So
yeah, and that was another point, actually. I forgot to mention it when I was talking about your high school, is that the amount of pancake blocks that I watched in your tape is incredible. Do you like doing the pancake block? Does that give you a lot of pride? And is that your version of a touchdown, or
That's me. Yeah, that's me. Like,
yeah. I know, because sorry, go ahead.
That's me. Like, I just don't. If I don't put somebody on the floor that play, I don't feel satisfied unless we score. You feel me? But I like putting people on their back, and that's what I plan to do a lot this season. That's why I've been working so hard. We've been working so hard.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So you've been at Louisville for a while. You went through your freshman season, your sophomore season, and you're now in your junior year. A few years ago, you had a guy by the name of Mekhi Becton in the team. Now, he went on to become he became a first-round pick for the Jets in 2020. I want to know, Adonis, did you pick up much from him? He was correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's a tackle. So he maybe played near you. I know you're a right guard, but did you pick up any kind of little bits from him?
I mean, yeah, like, he was here my sophomore year, and I was rotating in at right guard, and then I would start some games at left tackle if he wasn't playing. And, like, just being under his wing and watching him, like, just seeing everything happen right in front of my eyes for him, like, That was a great experience. Like he taught me a lot. Like even when it was my time to step up and be a left tackle, we talked. He told me to do me. Like he helped me a lot.
Yeah, and
on that note of NFL tackles and guards, other than Becton, is there any other guys in the league that you try to base your own game off?
To base my game off of?
Yeah.
When I'm lined up at tackle, I like to base my game off of Trent Williams. I love Trent Williams.
Oh yeah, because I'm a big Niners fan, so I know him well.
So for me playing guard now, like I've been watching some Quentin Nelson film.
Oh yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I just like to watch players that love to finish blocks. Like,
you couldn't go wrong watching a bit of George Kittle blocking.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
I mean, yeah, like I love seeing that. Like, nothing excites me more than seeing somebody get put on the ground. That's me.
That's a true O-lineman speaking right there. We're talking a bit there about, NFL, former Louisville players who've come out and also your inspirations from around the league. And, we couldn't really talk about Louisville and not talk about Lamar Jackson, former player for the team. And he's famous for using his legs. That's his calling card. And I'm interested to know, for you as an O-lineman, what's the difference between blocking for a mobile quarterback compared to a quarterback who maybe stands in the pocket and, throws passes a bit like similar to Tom Brady style, Would you say there's a difference there, or maybe you had that experience of playing with two quarterbacks like that?
I mean, shout out to my quarterback now, Malik Cunningham.
Yeah, Malik.
He's a scrambling quarterback. So really my whole career playing football, I've had a scrambling quarterback, except for my senior year for real. Like at some games I had like a pocket passer, but I say the difference is between a pocket passer and a scrambling quarterback. It's like with a scrambling quarterback, if you make a mistake, like not to say anything is okay with making mistakes, but there's a little bit of leeway. It's a little bit of leeway. But like the pocket passes, everything got to be perfect. Everything got to be timed up right. But also with a scrambling quarterback, like if you're getting out of that pocket, like it give you a chance to go make some good, impactful blocks. Like that gives you a rush too. Just going out there, seeing your quarterback on the run, like going to chase someone down to protect them. So that's the difference.
Because Louisville seem to have a bit of a type when it comes to quarterback. They seem to like a bit of a running quarterback, a guy who can extend the plays with his legs.
Right.
They've had one in Lamar Jackson. I think you just missed his window there. He entered the NFL draft just as you kind of became a freshman in Louisville. And then Malik Cunningham came along. So as you say, he's a wee bit more of a scrambler. Is there any other bits of his game that make it easy for you as an O-lineman?
Just his like composure, like he holds his composure. Yeah. If everything is like not looking right, if we in a hole, he calm us down. Like sometimes it become games where some of us worked up a little bit. Yeah, but Malik always keep us calm, keep us going. Like, and we mess up, like his maturity.
Yeah,
like I love his maturity as a quarterback.
Leader.
What's your relationship as an O-line with the quarterback? Because at the end of the day, you're the guys who are stopping the quarterback from taking a lot of hits, So is Malik maybe, I don't know, buying you guys dinners or anything,
buying you all a barbecue?
I mean, we love Lee, man. Lee take care of us. We take care of Lee outside of football and on the field. Like, we had our relationship. Our bond got even much better. Like this off season, like with everybody. So it's like we all have the chemistry, especially with our quarterback and our running back.
I know, because NFL quarterbacks seem to love buying their O-linemen. I think Kirk Cousins bought them all like a grill, and you get a lot of love from your QB. What's the coaching like at Louisville in terms of O-line coaching? Is there a strong coaching kind of ethos there, and what's the locker room like?
The locker room is it's just good vibes. Like, you feel me? Everybody jumping around, everybody vibing with each other. Everything is everything. Like, we're like a family almost. Like you could say it's a family because it's like we bond so close with each other outside of the locker room. We with each other all the time. So it's like once we get in the locker room, we just going to go. We happy to be there. We finna have fun. We finna go work. And then as far as coaching, is like coaches, they gonna be hard on you, but at the end of the day, our coaches always show love and respect.
Yeah, definitely. Towards the end of our interviews, we always like to sort of leave off with a lighthearted note. We always like to ask a couple of hypotheticals or a couple of trivia questions. So this week we wanted to know if you could join an O-line in the NFL right now, as of going into the 2021 season, would there be a particular team where you would like to, maybe step into, play alongside some guys?
I mean, no particular team, but if I was to pick for real, I would say the Jets to play my boy Makai.
Yeah.
Or the Ravens.
Understandable.
Yeah, or the Ravens.
Like that.
You'd have to protect Zach Wilson though, that pretty boy down in New York.
Oh.
He can't throw a ball as far as he can stand.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of him, but
we can tell.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I know it's a strong opinion there, but that's not a bad choice. Not a bad shout. Adonis, I want to know what's your kind of goals for the season when it comes to Louisville. What are you guys kind of aiming for this year?
I mean, with the way we've been working, the way we've been preparing, and setting the standard for each other, like we all feel like an ACC championship is in the works.
Yeah,
I'm behind you. Yeah, 100%. And I think both Zach and I will agree. Watching your tape, we got to see firsthand the run game was successful. Malik Cunningham, when he's protected well, and you guys are so good at that. When he gets going, you can't stop him. So I think you're 100% right there. I also want to know NFL Super Bowl 56. What's your prediction? Who are the two teams playing on it this year?
My two teams. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I'm gonna say the Dolphins.
Wow.
There'll be some listeners very happy about that. I know a few Dolphins fans.
I don't know who to pick for the other one, man. give me three choices.
Okay, right.
Tom Brady
give one,
and the
I'll
Bucks.
give one.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Defending Super Bowl champs. What about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Tampa Bay.
Okay.
You see, I'd hate if Tom Brady got another ring. Why? Get rid of him now. He's had his time.
Man, Tampa Bay gonna be back again.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I can say that with confidence.
In my opinion, I've said all along that Justin Herbert with the Chargers, I think that he could possibly bring those guys to a championship. You never know.
Definitely. The Chargers, they're looking good.
Yep.
A healthy Derwin James, too.
And I like the Dolphins pick, so you're obviously back into it. We interview, whenever we've interviewed guys in the past, we always ask this question, and that's the first time we've heard the Dolphins in this, as an answer.
It is,
so I like it. I like it, Adonis.
100%, yeah.
I feel like the Dolphins' defense is underrated.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And I feel like Tua is going to get out of his shell and do what he do.
I'm with you there. I hope he does. He needs a good bit of protection, though, Adonis. That's what he needs. He needs you to come in there and bolster it on the line.
Man, whoever called me, man.
That's it.
And by the way, just as we leave on that note, is your final goal the NFL draft and all that comes along with that?
My final goal after college?
Yeah, in football.
Definitely the NFL draft, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And to make a name for myself and my family.
And any ideas as to a timeline as to when you'll maybe declare for that?
Nah, I ain't gonna speak on that right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Just focus on the now.
Fine.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
That's it. Sorry. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you, Adonis. We've got a really great in-depth conversation. I learned a lot about Louisville, learned a lot about what it's like to be an offensive lineman. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
For sure. I appreciate y'all, definitely.
Welcome to segment 3 of the Hard Count Sports podcast. It's great to be joined by Adonis Boone there, a lineman out of Louisville. Even better person though. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, he was a really nice guy and very generous with his time, just to have a conversation with us. And it was really interesting for me to learn a wee bit more about how you prepare as an O-lineman. We had a quarterback on previously, a wide receiver as well, just last week with Josh. But for me, learning a wee bit more about how you play, how you prepare, and as an O-lineman, and also a wee bit about how he's preparing in the off season for next year.
Yep. Gaining a bit of weight, I hear. And another thing I had to do, of course, was go for the jugular with that comment about the NFL draft. He'll be declaring at some point. I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, but no matter when it is, I think there's definitely an opening for him to go somewhere, whether it be the first, second, third, or fourth, to an NFL team.
Yeah, whenever you said that he was joining us this week, I did a deep dive on Adonis. I had a look at some of his tape from high school and college, and one thing that struck me was just how mobile of a player he is, and how many times whenever he matches up and goes to block, he sends the other guy flying onto his backside.
Yeah, crazy. I know. He is a very physical player, and I'm sure the coaches could notice that at Louisville immediately. When he came in as a freshman, they thought to themselves, well, not only is he a physical player, but he's obviously a very gifted player in terms of being able to use his hands to catch the ball. I mean, he was lined up as a tight end and a fullback in some packages in his first season at Louisville. But let's stick to the college kind of topic, and we'll move across now to quarterbacks who may be ones to watch in this upcoming college season. Zach, could you kick us off on who you think is a top quarterback to watch out for this year?
Right. Before we start, all I'm going to say is, listeners, next year, whenever you hear that such and such has been drafted in the first round, you heard it here first from Ross and Zach. Okay?
No, from Zach. Zach, I'll let you have this.
Zach and Ross. So we get the credit. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? We had you well prepared. We told you all about them before. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Now, to start
You're
off...
You're not,
though. Slightly. To start off, I've picked a guy who plays for the Oklahoma University Sooners.
Yep.
He is taken under center for Oklahoma, having, he's the successor to so many who have gone before him, who have reached the NFL. You have Baker Mayfield, yes,
Jalen
exactly.
Hurts, yep.
Jalen Hurts too at the Eagles. I have gone for Spencer Rattler.
Oh, yeah.
Spencer, yes, very, very good. Very good player. He is from Phoenix, Arizona, played at Pinnacle High School, and in high school, in his 4 years there, went for 11,000 passing yards and 116 passing touchdowns. Not only that, he's very good on his feet as well. Over 1,000 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns as well. If you are aware of the QB1 Beyond the Lights series on Netflix, you may be familiar with Spencer Rattler as he featured on it there. He joined OU in 2019 and played 3 games. However, 2020 was the year that he gained the keys to the offense and became the starter. He set an OU record which was set by Sam Bradford, or in their conference, a conference record for most touchdowns in 2 weeks, which with 8. He also won the Big 12 championship and the Cotton Bowl that year as well. And he in my opinion, having looked at his tape, Spencer is very good with his arm. He makes very difficult throws, similar to Patrick Mahomes as well, but he also is fantastic on his feet. As I mentioned, he can scramble, he can rush. And so for me, I think Spencer is definitely a coach's dream, and his stats don't lie. He's definitely up there with one of the best prospects going into next year, in my opinion, with a big season this year. If he can, really have a good year with the university, I will definitely see him going, very high in the first round.
Yes, and you mentioned he's out of OU there. no surprise to me that there's another quarterback who they're talking about topping the draft, who's out of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
You look back, you have Sam Bradford, you have Baker Mayfield, you have Kyler Murray,
yes,
and you have Jalen Hurts, who he went second round, but still a good group of guys there. Big shoes to fill if you're Spencer Rattler, but he's done it, no doubt.
Yes,
and this year will
absolutely.
really be the kind of telltale year as to if if he will go first in the draft. I think he will. And when you look at the other QBs who are on that list, you look at Sam Howell, who we'll mention later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's up there as well, but there's definitely a good opening for him to top that 2022 draft. And I'm going to stick on draft prospects for next year, for 2022, and go to Nevada, out to the west, and pick Carson Strong. So he's a quarterback. He has gone under the radar, to be honest. He threw for 2,800, 500. Getting my numbers all
mixed up. It's a lot of numbers tonight, Ross.
It is, yeah, it really is. Right, I'll start with his measurables. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, and he's a junior. Born in California. Had a great showing in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. See all these bowl names?
I know.
Versus Tulane, he threw for 271 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in that game. In 2020, we'll come back to this now, he had 2,850 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, it's getting to my head tonight. 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So, this guy's more than capable of leading an NFL offense if he pleases. And he's coming back to Nevada this year. He's a pocket passer with quick release, great deep ball, good timing. When I see him receive the ball in the pocket, it's a matter of receive the ball, set, and throw. It's all in one movement, nearly. You blink and you miss what he does. It's just so quick. He's finding guys open like that just immediately. And he can use his legs to extend the plays if he wants. And it's kind of, when I watch it, it's in similar fashion to Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Great IQ, great football IQ, knows exactly where to place the ball. And also, one thing that a lot of college QBs don't know is when the play is dead. You tend to find a lot of college QBs try to keep that play alive to the very end. And sometimes it's not there to be kept alive. And Carson knows when his time is up, which is a great attribute to have, especially if you're looking to go to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the accolades now. He was named Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. And he's posted 5 300-yard passing games over his junior year, or sophomore year there, which has just been his previous 2020 season. He is ranked 5th by Mike Renner in his 2022 QB draft rankings. So that's pretty high in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I am definitely rooting for Carson Strong this season.
Okay, that's a name that I was not very much familiar with before tonight. So Ross, thank you for filling me in. And I remember that next year when I see his name called, that you were the one who introduced me to him. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to mention a guy who you just name dropped there, Sam Howell, who is the quarterback for the University of North Carolina, who Noah Turner, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, where he started off his collegiate career. He's 6'2", 225 pounds, and he is a North Carolina native from Indian Trail. He went to Sun Valley High School and had a fantastic time there, throwing for over 13,000 yards, 145 passing touchdowns, rushed for 3,621 rushing yards and 60 rushing touchdowns, which is very impressive. But here's the part that what I like the most. He is tipped to become one of, if not the greatest quarterbacks in the school's history for North Carolina. He became the first ever freshman to start for North Carolina, and won the Military Bowl that year versus Temple, and was named the MVP in that game. In his sophomore season, he set a school record again, another record for him, versus Wake Forest, with 550 yards and 6 touchdowns, which ended with 742 total offensive yards for the school, which is a record for North Carolina. He then went on to the team. It's very, very impressive.
It is well done, isn't it?
He went on that year to lose the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
However, still a fantastic season for him. He churned out, so much offensive production. Very, very good. And going into his junior season, he can really solidify himself as the school's greatest quarterback. All the records that he hasn't already broken, he has the opportunity to go and do that.
Yep.
The thing I like most about Sam Howell is his big arm. He loves to throw it long. He loves to throw a deep ball, and his ball placement on those plays is fantastic. In fact, I would say he has excellent ball placement. The difference between him and Spencer is he doesn't really rush, whereas Spencer has that capability to throw but also rush. Sam doesn't always do that. However, he's a fantastic scrambler. Very, very good on his feet. Again, I get a bit of a Patrick Mahomes vibe whenever I watch him.
Right.
I
seem to get Patrick Mahomes vibes everywhere.
I do. But however, it might actually be an
interesting. In your dreams.
It might be an interesting point. How much has Patrick Mahomes influenced the next generation of quarterbacks with his play?
That's a very fair point. Yeah.
But I'm rooting for Sam Howell. I'm interested to see where he ends up next year. And in my opinion, I think it'll be Spencer 1, Sam 2, or vice versa in the draft.
And Zach, could you maybe name drop a few teams that you think will pick these guys up in the draft? Now, it's a very long shot, but kind of give us a wee bit of that. Give your opinion on that.
Well, I do think that Detroit will have, if not the first, but the second overall pick. And for me, I don't think Jared Goff is the answer long term there. Maybe they'll trade up and take one of these guys, but I would quite like to see Sam Howell in that Detroit offense just to see.
You need a few more kind of targets to throw to, but yeah,
that's true. But we'll see what happens.
Let's move on now. Let's move out to down to the south. Auburn. Now, Auburn's the team that I like. If I was to support any college team, I'd say it would be Auburn, and I can't really give you a good reason, but I just like them. Bo Nix is their quarterback down there, and in 2020, he threw for 2,415 yards, 20th in that conference, 12 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. So a very low interception, but also not many touchdowns thrown either. To be honest with you, he did have a bit of a down year this year. A lot of people are kind of thinking that maybe he isn't what Auburn need, especially with the latest addition of TJ Finley, a transfer from LSU. But as I'll mention in a few minutes, he'll push Bo Nix to perform the best that he can, and I think Bo Nix sticks in that QB1 position. Bo Nix featured in the Citrus Bowl versus Northwestern, and he didn't have it wasn't a bad game, but he made the bowl game and he made a wee bit of an impact. He's got a rocket arm, good pocket awareness, great leader. Thrives especially in empty set formations, and especially with trips left. So when I was watching this film, a lot of the plays that seemed to kind of make for him or kind of play call up for him was an empty set, so an empty backfield with 3 wide receivers out to his left and maybe 1 to his right. And every time he was kind of going out either left or to that right guy and just finding him right at the sideline. So he's got good awareness. He knows where his guy is. He knows where to place the ball. He is somewhat of a dual threat with 14 total TD runs in 2020, so he can run the ball. If he can continue to tap into this side of his game, so this dual threatness, if he can continue to tap into this can take him from maybe around about a 70 rated QB to maybe about a 85, in my opinion. If you're looking at Madden ratings, that is. But he won SEC Freshman of the Year back in 2019. So Bo Nix has he's one of the more debatable guys, I'll be honest. But in my opinion, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I'll be rooting for him just the same as Carson Strong this year. Only Bo Nix will maybe have a more testing year.
Okay, very good. Something to prove then going into the next year of his collegiate career. I'm going to lead off with the dual threat theme, and I'm going to talk a bit about Desmond Ridder, who is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bearcats. He's 6'4", so he's the tallest out of the 3 quarterbacks I've picked, with 215 pounds, and he's from Louisville, Kentucky, where Adonis plays his college ball. He went to St. Xavier High School, and in his senior year there, threw for 1,319 yards and 9 touchdowns, and rushed for 668 rushing yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. He committed to Cincinnati over Eastern Kentucky. He had another offer there. And in his freshman year, he won the starting job in college and did so well that he was named the conference that they play in, the ACC's Rookie of the Year. Going into his sophomore year, he improved on his already stellar performance in his freshman year with 2,164 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 650 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns, leading the Bearcat to the Birmingham Bowl, where he was named the most valuable player. And in his junior year, on week 7 versus SMU, he won the Davy O'Brien National Quarterback of the Week award for all college quarterbacks, and was named the ACC's Offensive Player of the Year with 2,296 yards, 14 touchdowns, and rushing for 12 touchdowns as well, with 592 rushing yards. What I like about him, as you said previously with your guy previous to this, he's a dual threat. He can throw, he can use his legs, he can keep the play alive, he can do it all. He keeps his eyes down the field very well with pressure, looks for his receivers and gets a good job of getting them there. But where he really comes into fruition is in the red zone. He's excellent at making a play and getting the ball over the line, whether that be through throwing it or using his feet, waving his way around the defenders and getting in. What I would say about Desmond Ridder is he's maybe, yes, he can do a lot, but maybe he's not polished in other areas, whereas the other guys would be. However, I think that with coaching, and with practice, I think that's something, that he can improve on. But I think he's pro ready, because I think an NFL coach will look at everything that he can do and be very, their playbook can be wide open due to his skill set. In my opinion, I think he's very much a Kyle Shanahan or a Sean McVay player, because of his abilities, and those are two very offensive mind-headed coaches. And I think, with that, they would really enjoy having that skill set and his abilities, just to really use that all over the offense.
Well, by the time he's come, I don't know if he's now declared for the 2022 or if he's thinking about that, but maybe by the time he's coming out of college, Sean McVay might have an opening at QB because Matt Stafford might have moved on. Yeah, that could be a deadly situation in LA. I don't really know if I'd want to see that happen. But let's move on to kind of guys. Your guy there, Desmond Ridder, definitely kind of brought Cincinnati into the conversation when it comes to top college schools in football. Yeah. Another guy who's brought his school into that conversation is Dylan Gabriel. He's from Hawaii. He's 6 foot, 186 pounds, so maybe a wee bit lighter. Okay. He's a junior. 2020 stats was 3,570 yards, 32 touchdowns. Wow. Ooh. And 4 interceptions. He played in the Comboka Rotten Bowl. Now, I think I've made an absolute mess of that, but who knows?
It's all right.
217 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. Stood out, especially versus USF, Georgia Tech, Tulane, and Cincinnati that season. Now, this is a guy, when it comes to top QBs, his name is always mentioned. And Dylan Gabriel is a guy I've been hearing for months. And when I click on Instagram, he's definitely somewhere in the feed. He's amazing with his legs. He's got a very strong deep ball, great vision, takes into account what's happening all over the field. So when he looks up, when he's got that ball in his hands, he's looking everywhere. He's taking into account what's happening over his left. He's taking into account what's happening to the right. And he's looking downfield to see what matchups are going on. Yeah, he's great awareness. Yeah. Okay. Left-handed QB. Oh. So that's an interesting thing I picked up on.
All right.
Could he be the next Steve Young?
Or Tebow?
Well, hope not.
Well, yeah.
then we'll see him at tight end in about 10
Barry
years.
and Tim Tebow. Wow.
Well, he's better as tight end, but maybe could be. Don't know. Okay. Eludes pressure well, this guy, Dylan. He really does. And he won't put the ball in harm's way. I think there's a new offensive coordinator down there in US or UCF, which, by the way, if you don't know, stands for University of Central Florida. There's a new offensive coordinator down there, and he said that one thing I know about Dylan is that he protects the ball well, and he doesn't put it in harm's way like other QBs who tend to maybe try to put the ball in tough spots or tight spots and tight windows and maybe force some things. And Dylan doesn't do that. He had only 4 interceptions, as I mentioned, on the year. That's crazy to me, especially due to the fact that he had 32 touchdowns. Yeah, so this guy is really taking risks. Oh, sorry, he's not taking risks. He's doing the exact opposite of that. He's protecting the ball. And he ranked 6th all time at UCF. He ranked 6th all time with 7,223 passing yards in his collegiate career so far.
Wow.
He's tipped to be in the first round in 2023. First round pick. First overall, possibly.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, this is a guy to keep your eye on. In my opinion, you have the Spencer Rattlers, the Sam Howell. These guys will stand out this year, but Dylan Gabriel, I think, not only will stand out, but he'll take all the awards in terms of passing yards and stats. Okay. He's one to keep your eye on, definitely.
Right, listeners, write that down. Okay, Ross has just made a bold prediction. We'll hold that to him. So we will.
You're always saying I'm making bold predictions. To be honest, Jack, I'm just saying how I see it.
Well, they don't call you
Dylan Gabriel's amazing.
They don't call you Ross Bold Prediction Kennedy for nothing. I've got another.
Call me that at all. I really hope.
I've got another guy.
Don't get that caught on.
No. Hashtag Ross. There we go. We'll get that
trending.
No. Another guy I want to talk about who's maybe a wee bit too early. The guy's not even in college yet. He's in high school. However, I think he's one of not only college's brightest stars, but the NFL's brightest stars in the future. His name, you may be familiar with his surname. His name is Arch Manning. Yes, He is part of the Manning family. He is the grandfather of Archie Manning, who played for the New Orleans Saints, or the Aints as they were known back then. And he's the eldest son of Cooper Manning, the eldest Manning brother. His uncles are Peyton and Eli Manning, and he plays for Newman High School in New Orleans. He is going into his junior year. And Newman High School, famous for the Mannings, yes, but also have other talent. For example, Odell Beckham Jr. came out of there.
Really? It's in Louisiana.
It is indeed, yes. They have a very good football department. And you may be thinking,
I'd imagine most of their guys go on to play for LSU.
Yes, quite a few of them do. You may be thinking, listeners, like, here he goes. He's just talking about Arch Manning because of his surname. No, I am not. Arch Manning is worthy of talking about. He's proven that he is an elite quarterback. In freshman year, he threw for 2,407 yards and 34 touchdowns. And then in his sophomore year, this past year, he started the season off pretty well, throwing for 6 touchdowns. Not bad at all. He also, very impressive, made a national TV debut versus Booker T. Washington High School in October 2020.
He's used to the spotlight already.
He is indeed. He's America's watching, really, and I mean, it's crazy. The guy's is still in high school. Now I will say this: yes, he was on national TV, but the Manning family are doing a very good job of securing him, not letting him get into the media spotlight yet. They're withholding him from interviews till closer to college.
Good. That's a great decision.
He's also
so maybe that's one who I don't think we'll get him on the podcast then, sadly.
Well, hopefully, you never know. He has visited quite a few big name schools. For example, Clemson, LSU, and Ole Miss as well. Where I
hear he was at Alabama this weekekend.
Yes, indeed. Clemson, he was there for their open day, and he had a fantastic touchdown pass that went viral. It was all over the place, all over Instagram, all over social media, and he's in the class of 2023. So, yes, we don't have a Manning in the league at the minute, and yes, I'm very disappointed about that. But in the not too distant future, we may be seeing Manning playing in the NFL again.
And this brings something interesting to my mind. If New York if it doesn't work out with Daniel Jones, and if New York are in that conversation or if they're, up there in the draft, kind of first, second, I'd imagine you'd have to be first or second. Now we're talking, now this is going to be a long time. Now,
yes.
About 10 years. Well, no, not as long as that, but it's a long time away. So don't get your hopes up yet, New York fans. If Daniel Jones doesn't work out and Arch Manning somehow gets the opportunity to play in New York, that would be a crazy storyline.
It would, and whenever he's playing Tom Brady in Super Bowl 75 or something like that, and he beats him, he'll be going on, not another Manning.
I know. I really see if Tom Brady's still around there, like, oh dear, just end the NFL at that stage.
Exactly.
But no, that's a really good shout, and I'd say watch out for Arch Manning this year. Now I don't know what's he at this year, Zach. Could you fill us in? He's got another year at Newman High School ahead of him.
He's got 2 more years, so he's class of 2023. So he's going into his junior year, and then he has his senior year, and then he'll be going on to college. So he's been starting since he was a freshman, and he's been playing at an elite level since he was a freshman. Really standing out in his league, and so the sky's the limit for him, and I'm really excited to see what happens with him.
Yeah, definitely. Another guy that I want to mention who has a bright future ahead of him is Quinn Ewers.
Yes.
He recently committed to Ohio State. Now, this is another guy who you might have seen in your Instagram feed because he threw a few wild ones. So he did at a QB kind of camp. And this guy was throwing some sidearm passes you had there. You had some other kind of fancy stuff going on. I don't even know what was happening. He's out of South Lake Carroll in Texas. It's a pretty good high school for football. He, as I mentioned, committed to Ohio State, but he had offers from Texas, Alabama, Auburn, Baylor, Arizona State, LSU. Basically, you name it, he had an offer from it. He's a 5-star recruit, and he was ranked number 1 in the nation at QB. And he has a few accolades under his belt. He made the Elite 11 finals roster. He also made the All-American Bowl, and he led South Lake to a 12-2 finish, and he also led them to the Texas 6A Division I state championship game. I think it was the final. I'm not too well versed on high school games, but I think that was pretty good. He was named the Max Preps National Sophomore of the Year, and yeah, the sky's the limit for this guy as well.
Wow.
I'd say he'll be the starting Ohio State QB come 2023, 2024. And he's one to watch. And if I were you, if you're a college fan who's avid about it, keep this guy on your list. Because I think that he'll not only make a great impression at Ohio State, I think he'll set some records there because he's got some arm on him. And he's not only that, but I think he's rocking a mullet. And
I was about to say,
that
I was about to say, do you know what my favorite part about Quinn is?
Yep,
the hair,
the mullet,
business at the front, party at the back. It is serious.
That's it.
And I do believe, the better the hairstyle, the better the arm. I do think his mullet has something to do with his game.
Well, look at Justin Herbert. I mean, he was great when he had that long hair. Then he cut it, and it went a bit downhill. But yeah, there could be some method to the madness there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, these are two guys to keep your eyes on, college fans. Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. And there's another guy, Zach, that I think you mentioned earlier that popped up on your Instagram feed.
Yeah,
he threw a few darts.
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
from Michigan State, I think he's playing for. He looked good. He literally did a full 360 and then threw the ball, dimed it into the back left corner of the end zone. And I was stunned. I was like, are we going to see this in the NFL next year after he's inspired social media? But yeah, you've heard it here first.
I want to fact check you there, by the way. Michigan. It's just Michigan.
Just Michigan. I do apologize. Thank you.
No, you're all right.
For
You've done it to me in the past. I'm just all right. We're even now, 1-1.
Here, Ross. Iron sharpens iron.
That's it. I love that. Keep that one for. Before we go.
Oh yeah.
Big interview coming this Friday.
Oh yes.
massive. In fact, we'll be doing it on Friday. We'll be posting it on Saturday. Massive interview. For all you UK fans out there, we have landed none other than Jeff Reinbold, Sky Sports Inside the Huddle. He's monumental for the UK fans.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great conversation. Jeff Reinbold has got such a great football brain. Plus, he's been around. He has met so many different people. He knows people. I'd say he's got fantastic stories as well to share. And I'm really interested to hear his takes on the 2021 season, not only for NFL, but also college. His thoughts on free agency as well. And just a bit about, what he's been getting up to. I heard he was in Texas there coaching, in a couple of leagues. So, all will be revealed on Friday. So, we keep an eye out for that, and we'll post it on our socials whenever it's live.
Yes, that's it. And if you don't already follow us on Instagram, give us a wee look there. It's just Hard Count Sports. We post most of our stuff, any content throughout the week. It's all on the Instagram page. We also have a Twitter, but it's not as active. But I think if you've also noticed, we've been trying to post a few clips recently of just kind of wee takes that were it's all from this main episode, or the episodes we do. We take each clip from that, but it's maybe just a wee bit of a shortened version for those of you who maybe don't like listening to a full 1 hour episode, and I can completely agree with you there, and I understand. So we're trying to do that for some of you guys who are maybe a wee bit more impatient. But yeah, we have Jeff Reinbold, and he's going to be great. He's going to be outside the normal podcasting thing. We're just going to do a wee kind of maybe more of a chat style stuff with him. He's going to be great to talk to. But yes, next Monday we also have another interview coming, and I don't want to build anything else up, but it's going to be big. That's all I'm going to say.
It is.
We will see you next Tuesday. On the channel, and for episode 6 here, we've been flying through these, haven't we?
It's crazy. I can't believe it. And we cannot thank you enough for taking the time to listen to us, to support us, for liking our videos, for giving us an hour of your life to listen to us, to chat about all things American football. We're forever grateful. So we're going to leave it here for this week. We'll see you next week. We all hope you keep safe, and we'll see you in the future.